G'day folks and welcome to Australian UFO Sightings official podcast. I'm your host Anthony Goodall and you're listening to Encounters Down Under. Here we invite guests on the show to tell us about their encounters with aliens and UFOs, where most of our episodes were streamed live from our Facebook page, which gave listeners the opportunity to ask questions to our guests regarding their encounter. If you have had an encounter and would like to be a guest on the show, please get in touch with us. You can send us a message through our Facebook page, Encounters Down Under, or send us an email at australianUFOsightings@outlook.com.au. Be sure to join us on Facebook and share with your friends and family to help us grow, and hopefully encourage others to come forward with their encounter. If you're an iTunes listener and a fan of the show, why not give us that 5-star rating and review, and you could have your review featured on the podcast. But enough of that, let's get into what you've been waiting for. So kick back, relax with your favourite beverage, and enjoy the show. G'day folks and welcome to another episode of Encounters Down Under. On this episode, Deborah joins us to explain a bizarre encounter regarding several fighter jets that may have been pursuing a strange craft, resulting in them being frozen in mid-air. So please welcome to the show, Deborah. So welcome to the show there, Deborah.
Hi Anthony, good evening everybody. How are you?
Yeah, going good. Thanks for coming on the show. That's absolutely fantastic. And look, what you've experienced is absolutely amazing and mind-blowing. It's one of those experiences there where not many people would sort of get to witness this sort of thing. So look, I'm going to let you go and take the wheel here and sort of tell us about your experiences here, if you don't mind.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah, it was pretty full on, wasn't it? So it was way back in about, I think it was the 3rd of August this year. I'm an Indigenous elder woman, so I don't work. I just recently, this year, started studying back at uni again. I was studying this one day on the 3rd of August. It was a nice day outside. I live, is it okay to say where I live?
If you wish, yeah, that's fine. That's up to you.
Well, I live on the east coast of New South Wales, so in Iluka. So I live on the beach, which is not very far from Evidence Head Air Force Base. So quite often we have the jets from the Air Force Base flying over, doing training, manoeuvring, whatever sort of thing. And especially on every Anzac Day, we have one that flies up the main street of Iluka. So it's quite loud and comes down quite low. But when they're flying over top, just doing manoeuvre and practicing and stuff, it's a different sound, Anyway, this day on 3rd of August, it started off probably maybe in the last 8 months. There's been more and more activity with the jets going over up and down the beach, screaming up and down the beach and stuff like that. But this particular one day, it started really early in the day. I could hear them a lot, and they were much lower than normal, But I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But so I was getting stuck into study, and it came around to the afternoon. They were getting lower and lower and louder, and it was starting to really bug me a bit. And I was like, I have to go out and check them out. Because if you're around and they're that low, you want to go out and have a look at stuff. If you're anybody like me anyway, because I need to know everything. And I went out. It was around about 2:20. I'm pretty good remembering numbers. About 2:21 in the afternoon. I went out and I could hear them screaming over the top of me, and really, really loud, really super loud, like really freakily loud, where you could feel it vibrate through your body. And it was much louder than anything I'd ever heard. It sounded almost like they were going to scream, crashing into the ground, and I couldn't see them, but I don't think I'd seen them at that point. No, I hadn't seen them at that point. So they'd sort of, that had dissipated, had gone away a little bit, but they'd sort of gone up a little bit higher. So I'd gone back inside to start study again. So I was there studying again. About 45 minutes later, it was literally at 3:15, I remember, and they were doing the same thing. And I went outside and I thought, oh God, what's going on? Like, it was really, really unusually loud. I can't even explain the sound of it. I just can't. So again, I didn't quite see them straight away. So I went down towards the back of my yard, and It was a really hot day that day, so I started to just sprinkle a bit of water on the garden. And just as I was looking north, um, I was looking up into the sky. I've got a lot of trees in my backyard, but this one particular place is clear. There's the trees had been lopped down, and so it opened up this space in my backyard. And what I'd seen was these two jets screaming literally toward me, and then turn their noses up towards the sky and just literally stop in dead air. And one was above the other one, and in between them was a triangular, see-throughy kind of translucent greyish kind of shape, and it just seemed like they'd trapped it, and it happened so quick. And then I didn't see the third jet, but I didn't see it arrive. It just was there to the right, and a little bit higher than the second jet. And all of a sudden, I heard a great big bang, and two puffs of white smoke went up to the right-hand side of the two jets, and some grey smoke went down to the left-hand side, and that triangular figure fell away. I'm going to say, I'm going out there, I'm saying it fell out into another dimension, because the physical, there was no crash site, there was no nothing. And then the two jets just took off, and the third one, I'm not sure. Because at this point I was pretty freaking out, as old ladies would too in their backyards. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. But earlier that day, I had seen those two triangular shapes close over my house, and I've seen them quite often here. I've seen quite often different shaped ships coming very close down over my house here, but there was two of them that particular day that I'd seen. Yeah, in that incident, I had only seen one of them. There you go. Whew.
That's a pretty terrifying experience in a sense, like seeing something that's defying the logic to just merely freeze up in the air like that.
Yeah, it was that video that I sent you. I don't know if you've seen it
Yeah,
about the
yeah, I
jet.
did. Yeah.
I did know that there was jets that could do that. But as you can see in that video, and even though it's slow motion, it still takes some time to pull up. You know, it can sort of come to a great stop and turn its trajectory, but it's still got to take a little bit of time to come to a stop. And when I've seen that video, and if you do have a look, you can see a couple of puffs of smoke coming out of that. So I've gone back over in my brain to think about whether that's what I'd actually seen, and it was not. These puffs of smoke were completely different to that, and these two jets just stopped in midair, you know. So it was more what was happening between them. There's what really freaked me out, because it seemed dimensional, but very, very real. And it's interesting because that day when it happened and I contacted you, I was really freaking out and needed somebody to witness what I'd witnessed, when I got onto one of your websites, which, by the way, I've been blocked from.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, I can't find it anywhere now. One of the people on there said to me, "Do you think it was only just for your eyes, Deb?" And I had to think about that, and I do believe maybe so. But other people had heard and seen the jets. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is I'm feeling like there was two dimensions in play there somehow, perhaps.
Yeah, that's interesting. Look, it's one of those things that sort of makes you wonder and question, and the fact that you weren't the only one that had seen this as well, sort of really brings a lot of credibility to this as well.
Yes, well, I'll talk about my friend. That's I'm trying to get her to come across, but this is really hard stuff, as we all know. This is intrinsically hard stuff to get out to the public and talk about and put your face to, which is why I'm not putting my face to it today. Today I'm in a bit of pain. That's all the only reason. I'm looking like crap. But that very same day, my friend across the road was walking along the beach, and she often has seen this happen, and she's seen 5 smaller triangle shapes fly up the beach past her, to the point where her dogs were freaking out and trying to run home. And she said every time it happens, they do the same thing. I'm like, what do you mean every time? Like, I've known this woman for nearly 10 years and neither of us knew that either of us seen stuff, and she just talks about it like I do, like it's an everyday occurrence. And it happens a lot here in Iluka. It really does. Yeah.
So what makes you feel that Luca might be a bit of what some would recall as a hotspot?
Uh,
A bit of a
it's
hard question,
it's
I know.
it's not really that hard of a question for me, but it's a hard question to answer in terms of I can now say, because since contacted you, I was still learning about a lot of things. I'm sort of being initiated a little bit as an elder at the moment as well. So other things are being taught to me and given to me, and it's all connected, is what I'm saying. So here in Iluka and Yamba are two very, very sacred sites. Plus, like I also said, we do have Evans Head Air Base not far from here. I'm sure it's only about an hour's drive in the car. I don't know how quickly in a spaceship, but um, and I remember telling you that that once a year when the jet flies over in Anzac Day, uh, apparently his family lineage is from here as well. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe they come in and pay a bit of respects to him. I don't know, but I've often been out on the beach really, really early in the morning with my friends, and they'll just show up in the clouds, and I'm talking round disc ones with multiple windows, hundreds and hundreds of windows, and it's like they show you enough to just make you go, really? Is that what's happening or not? I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, look, the thing is too, like, not a lot of people are seeing these things either, which is the hard thing to sort of make people understand what's actually happening out there. And it seems like only a certain amount of people are having the ability to see these objects as well, which is sort of
Yeah.
confusing to some, which I can understand. But what are your thoughts on why these people might be able to see these things and others can't?
Well, I guess it goes back to that thing about why I say it's connected, and I fully believe it comes down to we are in a stage in our history right now where, and I'm going to go out there, there's things of biblical events are about to take place. And it also, in our culture, in our dream time, it talks about exactly the same thing. And it's kind of like it's sort of opening up to us. So wherever you kind of are in your beliefs, spiritually, I guess, how aware of things that you are yourself, um, knowledge is freedom to that as well. We fear what we don't know. We fear the unknown. But what's the unknown is just once we know what the unknown is, the fear fades. Um, we also incredibly have got our heads down in technology. This phone thing is, and we're not taught to look up and look around and be one with environment, and we're desensitized to a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, that was just another jet that flew over. Oh, so what? I'll just get on with mowing the lawn. Um, it's it's there for those who can push past all that, I guess. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people don't see, but they're about to.
Yeah, I hope so, and hopefully so quite soon too. Because like, look, the truth is pretty well overdue, I feel, and there's been a lot of things in history there, like especially with your people there within the dream times and stuff, and their stories and history. There seems to be like a big, massive connection there that has been lost from you know. I'm not trying to stir the pot here, like, but they call it like the invasion from the white people and such like that.
Mm,
When things did get sort of stamped down and a lot of your history was lost. And the biggest thing is that we're trying to get that back from, um, you know, I'm trying to think where I'm going with this, like, but like get your history back. Get your understanding of where
yeah,
your whole heritage came from and your connection to what could have
yeah,
possibly
yeah.
been ETs or just back with nature's spirit, basically.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, darling, it has not been lost. It was just kept quiet for a while for reasons. Definitely, we call them the sky heroes. We don't call them spirits. We don't call them gods. We don't call them anything else but sky heroes. Um, but our particular creator, spirit, by Army, he's something different altogether. We don't know that just yet, who he is. But definitely the connection in culture, um, and off planet others is all about culture. That is what our culture is all based on. It was them that created us and gave us this particular place to be, and to come here to learn to be one with it all, you know. Um, yeah, so we never looked at them as gods that came down on chariots and stuff like that. We knew they came in spaceships. We know all that. The Palladians, that's what they were. They came from the Palladians, definitely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I'm not sure if you've heard of I think the stalagmite, no, australite tektite. That's the one. It's like a strange sort of black rock. It looks like a piece of coal almost, but I think it's hollow and it has a really weird shape to it. I'm not sure if you ever heard of them before.
Not those particular ones, but I do know a lot about rocks. Yeah,
I'd
not that
say that.
particular one.
Yeah, that's right. I would say look into australite tektite. It's an amazing little rock, and it's only found like in several parts of the world, and mostly found in Australia. Now, I was talking to Triffin from Unlocking the Code, and he's done a lot of diving down into the Palladians and all sorts of stuff, and believes that there was obviously some sort of orbiting spacecraft, some sort of ship that was sort of orbiting around the Earth, and something's happened there, and it's sort of crashed back into the Earth or forced back into the Earth, and left all this australite tektite left everywhere. I hope I'm quoting that right, Triffin, if you're listening.
Yeah. No, I don't know about the tectite. I do know about the spaceship. But go on, yeah.
But yeah, so basically that's one of those interesting things there. Like, and obviously you're referring back to the Palladians, and so it's obviously a massive reference there where some sort of heritage or lineage is connected there somehow.
Oh yeah, and it's all of us, all of us, everybody on this planet. But it got hijacked somewhere along the line. So it's interesting about that rock you're talking about, because rocks are really important to us, and we have we're discovering lots and lots of rocks at the moment that they can prove. I'll send you some information about this, Anthony,
Yep.
because I have lots of information on it, um, where they can tell that the rock was actually covered in a substance and then engraved things like our creation story, star map stuff like that, and it's solid, really, really hard. Some of them are 10,000 years old. Some of them are older, younger. But in order to get this substance in the rock, you need the heat of 4,000 degrees. Um, and these things were made back in what they refer to as the stick, stone, and bone time. So your campfires can't do that. You
Yeah.
can't get to 4,000 degrees heat. So these things have come from off planet, or off planet's been down here with technology. So, and right throughout all of our culture, and every other culture around the world, they just, when they start to tell the history of, that rock carving there and that, they convolute it so that we just will buy it up and run away with that story. But really, if you do really look, even in the hieroglyphs in the pyramids in Egypt, all around the world, you really, really look at some of the stuff, and it's like, yeah, there's no doubt it's aliens. You can't deny it. Um, there's also another story of where one of the Palladians, when after they finished crafting us, coming down here, putting our DNA here and stuff, we were evolving and whatnot. They threw what they call, and it's in the Bible, the rod of God. And it's a big rod that this God, a Palladian, made, and he threw it from the Pleiades, and he threw it, and as it went through the universe, it picked up all the elements, and whatever it picked up, and it landed here in it landed here in Australia, which is part of Uluru now. It's shattered apart, and this is these parts of these rocks that we're finding now. So I'm wondering if that's the same as the ship.
Yeah, it could very well be.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that's one of those mysteries we're going to have to sort of try and figure out at some point. Like obviously down the line, and where more evidence comes out. The biggest thing is too, like a lot of people aren't taking a lot of interest in trying to do geology or find out rocks and our actual history when it comes to a connection with ETs or maybe UTs, ultra terrestrials. I don't know. There's there's like a little bit of interest, but it doesn't seem to be like a massive interest from a big organization sort of side of things.
And it's kind of like that's the plan too, I'll tell you the creation story for us just very quickly, and this is where it all ties in. It's like in the dream time, which is our creation time. The story goes is that we're in the dream time, and this is for everybody's culture. We just say dream time or the creation time. It got interrupted. So basically, what you're saying there, my interpretation of that and what I get taught is that the dream time was our fifth dimension when we lived as one with the elements. Atlantis, Lemuria. We were that. That's what my idea of what the dream time was, and it got interrupted. Now, if you go back through the history of stuff, and if you do believe in UFOs and off-worlders, what interrupted the dream time for everybody was this dark entity entered into our history, and they say it was an off-planet, off-world entity. So it interrupted the dream time, pulled us down into the second, disconnected some of our DNA, pulled us down into the second dimension, which is second and third dimensions, which is where we all are now. It's also biblical. If you go through the Bible, Revelations tells us all about this. And I'm no Christian by any means, just a spiritualist finding the truth. So in order for the dream, for us to get humanity, to get back to our dream time, we have to find a way to expose this stuff. But part of the plan is so many people are asleep, and that's how they got away with it. So how do you wake them people up? We don't know. This is the problem, and we're getting so close now, and I'm talking weeks, Anthony. I really mean that. Weeks away from a great awakening.
That'll be amazing, because it is something, one of those things that people do need to sort of be awake to. Obviously we've got the America sort of admitting to the whole UFO phenomena sort of thing. There's something going around that's flying around. But obviously everyone's known for so many years that these things have existed, and surely enough, it's one of those things that should have been out long ago. The awakening should have happened ages ago.
Yeah, there's I guess that's the whole magic in the dark arts, is that you don't allow humanity. If you don't want humanity to essentially ascend or whatever it is, spiritually evolve, and you're not going to give them those technologies. It's and the reasons why it's hard for people to understand, people like us, is because you've really got to come to that understanding and acceptance yourself. You've got to really believe in your own heart and mind that that's real, that UFO is real, what I've seen. I mean, to really walk around this world, even in this day and age, to think that there's nothing else in this universe other than us is really, tunnel visioned. And the disclosure, you can tell people till they're blue in the face, but until humanity itself accepts it on their own level, like it's got to be that aha moment, where they fully accept it and go, wow, it is really real. But it's got to happen inside, not on an exterior level. Because if they do it on an exterior level, they just then go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So how do people like you and I get to accepting that? Is because we see it, we're interested, we research it. And the more you go down that rabbit hole, the more you find compelling evidence that just you can't deny it. And this is what's about to happen for humanity, and it's going to be the most beautiful thing.
It is, and
Guaranteed.
and going on like disclosure though, people not waking up to this whole concept that this thing is reality. I feel like technology, like you mentioned before, technology like phones and that is a very big distraction on that, and people obviously aren't looking around observing yeah, okay, sure, they're going to be seeing like live feeds of something like through the what is it, TikToks and Instagrams and whatever's all that sort of crap there. And even though like I said mentioned earlier, America admitting to the whole concept that UFOs or UAPs exist, no one seemed to really care, and they sort of feel like the idea, well, the way this has to work for people to sort of be awakened to this is they have to actually have their own actual experiences to believe this is real. Like, sure, okay, yeah, someone
Yes,
can tell you that, yep, these things are real, but they're gonna be like, oh, well, I haven't seen it yet, so how can they be real?
but they have, and that's the other thing. Like they see it all the time. Every time they get on Facebook, there's at least something they'll pass by. Even old Nana down the road that's on Facebook, there was something that will go on her feed and flip by there. But they just go, then people go, oh, it's just, it's CGI, somebody made that video. So the minute there's an excuse for them not to be responsible for doing research into it, then they go back to sleep. That's what I'm talking about. Unless you accept it on a really human level, there's and whatever technology keeps getting pushed, which is a great thing, we all love technology. It makes the world go around much easier. But whatever that keeps getting pushed, and they're looking for that next new phone or that next new game, we're not looking up at the skies. We're not touching our feet on the ground. We're not outside. We're
Yeah,
not listening. We're not looking. We're not feeling. So, yeah. Sorry, I lost track there a bit because the bit of pain coming in.
that's all right.
It's
We'll
all good.
finish her up
Yeah.
soon, there, just so you can get back in and sort yourself out. But
Oh, mate, it's all
I
good.
didn't want to keep you too long, but yeah, that's great. Look, I was just gonna go and touch on too, like obviously, like yeah, there are a lot of things there on Facebook there, but there is a lot of CGI. There's nothing really compelling that can give a lot of big evidence to the reality of what is actually out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Obviously, on my side of things, I have to go and look into everything there. I have to look out for the CGI. I have to look out for mistaken identities or misidentified objects and stuff like that, and trying to give an explanation. That's my sort of line of work. I have to keep an eye on. And to me,
Yeah.
everything that's on sort of social media there does an absolute discredit to the whole UFO topic, or people in general who've had actual genuine experiences there. I feel that is an absolute disrespect and discredit to genuine encounters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like it's not
But yeah.
like I know there's a lot of creative stuff out there. People can be creative, but to go and try and claim these things are the CGI crap is fake. Sorry, as real. It I hate it. It annoys me.
I think probably 99% of it's fake, because it goes back to that same comment that the person said to me on the Facebook was, do you think it was just there for you, Deb? And it's like, I've had many encounters, and I've had them with my children when they were little. They follow my son, my adult son, all the time. Um, he's just gets followed constantly, but I don't think they're good ones with him. He's in a bit of a bad space, that young man. But I know he's safe, and he will be okay. But my first experience was, I grew up in Blacktown in Sydney, bordering on the edge of Marion. And we used to, across the little primary school where I used to go, was a shop we used to call the Pink Shop. And we I don't even know why, I don't think it was in pink, but that was our local shop, um, get your lollies and all that stuff there. And I remember coming there one day on the weekend, and I know for sure this happened because I was not supposed to go out of the house. I was about 7, and I got on my bike and went around the shop because I had a grape addiction at the time, and grapes were really expensive back in them days. And I stole a little bit of money off the olds, and I went around the shop to get some grapes. And when I pulled up at the shop, there was this great big UFO just sitting over the top of the shop, and it was, the diameter of a house, and it was probably maybe 10 feet up off the roof of this shop. And to me, I've had some weird experiences as a child as well. Anyway, I didn't quite really freak out about it. It was kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, that's really cool. Went into the shop to get my grapes, and everybody was just standing there and not moving, you know. And I thought that was odd. That's what I thought was odd, because it's like, why? And then it dawned on me, oh, the UFO, and I thought, well, how could they be just doing that? They don't even know it's there. This is this whole conversation having in my head, this 7-year-old kid. Um, so I just went about my business and got the grapes, but they were moving like they were. It's like they were being being remotely controlled, like they were in shock or stunned, but enough awareness that this kid was trying to buy some grapes. Anyway, the transaction went through. I walked out the shop as usual, got on my bike, looked up at the UFO as if like, yeah, okay, cool, and just rode off. And that was my first ever real encounter. Um, I'll tell you about another one. My kids and I'm also a singer-songwriter, and I lived in Melbourne for quite some time down there. Lots of performing I did down there. And I did one at the Northcote Civic Centre one night. And my kids would have been about, I'm going to go maybe 9, 10. And we did the performance. There might have been 500 people in there. We always, when you perform, you always pretty much last to go out. So when we left about 20 minutes later, come out, you had to walk down these great big stairs and then press the lights for the pedestrian to go across to the other side. And as we were standing there, the people on the other side of the road were looking up on top of the building. And both my kids said to me, Mum, look what they're doing. We couldn't see at the top of the building because it was so big and we were in the wrong position. And they went to run across the road, and I went, no, wait, just so, it was pretty safe to do so anyway. So we went across the road. Now, there was probably about a half a dozen people there. We turned around and we could see it. This huge, the biggest UFO I've ever seen in my life, on top of the Northcote Civic Centre. I'm pretty sure it was at Town Hall, the Northcote Town Hall in Melbourne. So there was probably half a dozen people plus me and my 2 kids. 500 other people were walking around, walking away from there, and did not see a thing. And you explain that to me. So that's maybe another reason why others don't. Is there part of our pineal gland that's open? Is it just something we access, or do they trust us?
Yeah, that's the biggest question, isn't it? Like, is some people having the ability to see these things and others not?
Yeah. It's like spirits, some people see spirits and some people don't,
Yeah, like I've had
so
people on the show there like saying the same sort of thing. Like they could see something there, and they've had to like really sort of point out where this thing was for them to sort of like get a grasp on what they're actually looking at. And then after a little while, they might go, "Oh, look, now I can see it." It's like, well, how could you not see something so obvious there like seconds ago? It's
I
it's
know, I've done it many times, and I've just stood there thinking, no, Dave, you need to shut up now, because but yeah, and I can sort of attest to that. That's probably part of your awareness, is because the more and more I've become aware and the more knowledge I get, the more I see. Does it make sense?
a little bit, yeah,
Yeah. And it's not pareidolia, mate. It's not like okay, I'm getting lots and lots of information, I'm doing lots of research. Oh yes, if I look at that cloud formation, I can see that there. It's not me making it out, mate. It's really, and I don't fear it now.
yeah,
If that makes sense. And that's what I said before. We fear the unknown, but once we know what the unknown is, the fear goes away. So that allows for you to then open up to see what that is that you once feared. Yeah. Maybe that's got something to do with it too.
yeah. And like especially like looking at clouds, like without a doubt, they're hiding throughout the clouds. They're like, why wouldn't you be? That's like a really great hiding spot.
Oh, absolutely.
And like it's not to say like give any discredit to people seeing these things in the clouds and whatnot, like but clouds do make odd shapes and that, and talking atmospheric pressures and all sorts of stuff. They're making these really strange, oddly looking UFO sort of shapes and that. Um,
Yeah. Well,
it,
from my understanding, what my elders teach me is that um, these entities are of a a oneness consciousness within the universe. Um, they activate or access source power. So um, you might have like still the captain of the ship or whatever that drives it, and everybody's got their job on it, but their whole consciousness brings the ship shape about and the elements that it's made from. So they might be flying, say, for instance, okay, we're going down to Earth, we need metallics there. We have to use solid materials to have our ships down there because that's the density there. But there'll be certain entities on there that act as a oneness that can terraform, I guess, clouds around it or the shape of the ship itself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do actually get a bit of an idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay. So it's
yeah.
like they're ad- adapting to the surroundings to sort of trying to blend in a little bit in a
Almost
sense.
like that bioorganic quantum computing I was talking to you about.
Yeah,
So you become the consciousness, and it becomes your actors like it's almost, you could say, like, oh, get a bunch of drones, you can make them all do the same thing, but that's a bad analysis of it. In this instance, it's they're great UFOs, and they're great entities. They're all for humanity. Um, but they're so advanced. They can just say 100 of them go, okay, we've got to go down to we've got to go over to there today. We've got to do this, and it's a different atmosphere. So they'll use the water molecules to bring a spaceship about, because that's what that density requires, and it won't accept anything else. Does it make sense?
yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
makes total sense. But like going back on the
Yeah.
clouds, though, like you can't just assume every single cloud could be a potential aircraft either, though. Like, sorry, UFO, or to say.
No.
But it's not to say that they aren't something. It's just like it's one of those things, like because like obviously like we were saying before, some people can sort of see something, others can't, and you're gonna try and convince that person that what they're looking at is a UFO. In that shape,
Yes.
like especially with especially looking at clouds, like you're not gonna be able to convince anyone very, very well with it. And like it's like, oh, here's a picture of a cloud. It's a UFO. It's like all I see is a cloud, and like that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing of trying to make people understand. It's not to give discredit to anyone's experiences or what they're seeing or whatever. It's more about trying to be able to convince the other people who have no idea, who aren't awake in this whole thing. The idea is to trying to convince them, basically. We're gonna try and make them realize and understand these things are out there.
Yeah. And when I was saying before about how humanity's got to sort of accept it on their own level, like it's really got to be that aha moment. I don't think soft disclosure is working at all. It's
No,
like it's that same thing. They can see something and can be compelling evidence, and that they'll go, "Oh yeah, wow, okay, back to sleep." So I think when disclosure comes, it's going to be bang smack in your face, a real big gut punch, and that's the only way humanity is going to be able to go, oh, okay, right, you know
yeah,
and that's when they'll start accepting it, and it'll be happening. I can't see it happening any other way, really.
no, me neither.
Yeah.
And like that's sort of things too. People are saying like we'll never achieve world peace in the way we're doing things now. Like yeah, okay, look, there's a form of peace, but there's still a bit of banter and whatever, and still wars going over in between other countries and that. And the only
Mm.
way that humanity is really ever going to really 100% unite is via like a hostile invasion from another planet. Basically, that's pretty much the only concept I can really see of this world peace. With the world coming together, I should say.
Do you think it will be a hostile invasion?
Honestly, I hope not. I feel like if it was going to be hostile, they would have done it already. We're not that technologically advanced to them to be able to be called
No,
equals
we're
in that
not.
sense.
We are so not. Let me tell you.
No, and they could have taken
But they
advantage
don't.
of us
Yeah.
back in World War One, World War Two. Back through all the times we were all at war there. Like that's a great place to go and infiltrate us from behind. Basically go and ambush us from behind whilst we're concentrating on other countries, and all our
Yeah.
resources are
So
concentrated elsewhere. But
yeah.
um, so no, I don't think we're going to get a hostile, uh, dis- uh, a hostile visit, I should say. I think will be one of those moments there where they will just expose themselves and go, look, here we are here, and probably say like, you guys are destroying your planet and you're doing it wrong, and look, we're going to help you, guide you along. We're not going to give you everything, all at once, but we're going to spoon feed you in the sense so you can actually adapt to this technology and use it correctly and in the right manner, basically, and not against each other.
Absolutely, yeah. But I can assure you, and I do know this for a fact, and I can't tell you where I get this information from because, again, nobody believed me. But when we do get it, it will not be in any way hostile whatsoever. There will be no hostility whatsoever. There's already negative entities here doing that. So, and all that stuff's being taken care of behind the scenes. But when disclosure does happen, humanities will weep from such love of it. I don't know how to explain that any better. And that is something that's really deep seated in our culture. That when they return, humanity will feel a love that we've never felt before. And this is that acceptance thing that I was telling you about. I think that's when, and it's not like they come down here and give a spell on us or anything. It's just that aha moment is such a shocking moment and that's the other thing. We were expecting a hostile takeover, but in fact they come with peace and love. The humanity almost just, it goes, oh, wow. Is it making any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is coming. These are the Palladians. They're a really beautiful, peaceful race. Some of the people in culture say that they're our future us. This one I'm still getting my head around, but
Yeah.
Nothing's impossible.
Yeah. I've got Michelle asking here, like, do you wonder if our government will deliver it to us as hostile?
Yes, I believe so. I believe that's maybe what the plan was supposed to be. Whether that still happens or not, I'm not sure. But yes, I believe the government's going to probably try and put it out there as a hostile thing, but it's not going to play out very well for them.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, it's it's like getting a folded up newspaper and going, no, we're not hostile. Give us a whack on the nose,
No,
basically.
yes. And if they are hostile and they want to get taken to our leaders, I'll be happily to show them where they are.
Yeah. So, what do you sort of feel like, where if they were to come visit and obviously expose themselves, where do you feel that they might go first? Like, I don't know, that's one of the big questions, really.
Everywhere. Everywhere.
All at one time, you
They're
reckon?
already here. They're already here, darling.
Oh yeah, no, without doubt. But like,
Yeah.
just going like to expose themselves, though. Like, where do you think? Like, because I know everyone would sort of feel like America would be the
everywhere.
the
It'll be
highlight.
worldwide.
Yeah.
There'll be no oh, America got it first and then one popped up in England, and I believe, and culture believes, that it'll happen instantaneously worldwide. Because if it doesn't happen that way, humanity will waken up at different stages again. Humanity needs to be woken up, bang, like that, all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is in our history books. It's in the Bible. It's also in our culture that in order to evolve, humanity needs to take that step forward together. So we believe it'll happen, bang, everywhere instantly. That whoever's in Africa that's getting their first sighting, bang, they're happening here right in the straight, the same exact time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's hope so. So I just want to quickly go back to your experience you were talking to about where this jet was frozen in midair, basically. Now, if you're happy to sort of talk about this part, you actually got visited by what you might talk about. I might mention, like, call them the Men in Black, basically.
Yeah, them dudes.
So yeah, you basically got a visit from them. What, that same day was it, or the next day, or was it?
It was a couple of days. It was not the next day, the day after, wasn't it? Yeah. Was it the next day? I can't remember now. It was within 2 days anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So did they like, if you can recall it, or like, did they really mention much at all in regards to that? If you're happy to share it.
Well, they just well, I was just home studying again, and I think I was out the front. because I live down the back of this beautiful yard. I'm very lucky where I live in this beautiful little grey flat house suiting, and this great garden. So I just out my front door is this beautiful veranda, and I look out over onto the garden. I think it was only a couple of days later. The weather was great, so I was probably having a break sitting out there, and I saw my neighbour coming down the back garden, which she never comes over ever. We just know each other in town. We never hang out. We never do anything. It's really weird, this connection we have now. But behind her was these two men, but they had Air Force uniforms on. As I explained to you, I've grown up in a military, not a military family, but there was a lot in the military. You know, it was 70s, Vietnam War veterans, and we just come out of World War II, so it was still big in the family, that to do that. So I knew what different uniforms were. There was definitely Air Force. And they were just asking me about what had happened, and I hadn't actually spoken to her about what had happened to me at this point. Do you remember me telling you that?
Yeah.
Had I? Oh, mate, I'm starting to get into some pain here.
You're right.
My back. I'm really having a hard time recalling the conversation now. Oh, they just wanted to ask me about what had happened, and I can't remember much about it now, to tell you the truth. But I do remember him saying to me, does your culture believe in this? Does your culture believe in this? But I know that I hadn't spoken to my friend. Oh, I can't remember what happened that day now, brother.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I've sort of probably left it a bit late for the question there because I wasn't going to keep you on too much longer there, just to sort of get you off the air so you can get yourself a bit sorted and a bit more comfortable.
Sorry, I'm rolling around on the bed in pain a little bit, mate. I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Look, I still appreciate your time being here. Like, we'll end it here, and we'll try and get you back on some other time, and talk a bit more about your history and the culture and stuff like that, and try and dive right down into the Dreamtime basically, and sort of get a bit of a highlight if you're happy with that.
Mate, I would absolutely love to. I've got lots of information, and I would love to get it out there, because it is all connected. It is all connected. This whole thing, this whole universe, this whole world, the humanity, UFOs, aliens, it's all connected, and I can guarantee you that. And it's the most beautiful story that you'll ever hear. And I can't thank you enough for having me on.
No, the pleasure's all mine. And basically appreciate from all the guests here as well for coming on, and obviously dealing with what you got through at the moment. Tell us your story, and look, very much appreciate it. So yes, we'll definitely get you back on at some point when you're feeling better, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
No worries. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I say Yalu to you because that means see you. Yalu.
See ya. And that will do it, folks, for this episode of Encounters Down Under. I hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, you can also get involved in the show by joining the Facebook page and getting in on the live streams. Also, please be sure to share with your friends and family to help us grow and potentially find our next guest on the show. If you or you know someone who has had an encounter, please get in touch with me through our Facebook page via Messenger or email at australianufosighting@outlook.com.au. I look forward to seeing you on the next Encounter Down Under. Hooroo!